In 2024, Amazon made $56 billion selling advertising, not products, advertising. That is more than Netflix's entire global revenue that year, and nearly all of it was spent by sellers buying position on a page you assumed was sorted by quality. When you search for a phone charger and tap the first result, you are not tapping the best charger. You are tapping the highest bid. And the part that should bother you more is who pays for that bid. Not the seller, not really. The cost of being seen is already inside the price on the screen, sitting next to every other cut the platform takes, and in a few minutes, you will know how big that stack has become. 10 of your $20 never reach the person who made the thing. A seller listing a $20 item on Amazon typically hands over 15% of the sale price as a referral fee. That is the platform's cut for the privilege of being listed. Then, if they use Amazon's warehouses, they pay fulfillment and storage on top. Then, to appear anywhere a customer will actually look, they pay for clicks. Marketplace Pulse, which tracks seller economics closely, estimates that between fees, fulfillment, and advertising, roughly half of a typical seller's revenue now goes back to Amazon. Half. Nobody sells at a loss on purpose, so that half is not absorbed. It is priced in. The $20 item is $20 because 10 of those dollars are going to the platform, and the seller built the sticker around that fact. Some of that stack buys something real. A warehouse moved the box, and a courier brought it to your door. But one slice of it bought nothing you can hold. It bought position. It paid for the auction that decided which charger you saw before you chose it, and it is the only slice that grows the harder sellers compete for your attention. The advertising is not next to the store. The advertising is the store, and you are the one who capitalized it. Here is what happens in the fraction of a second between you hitting search and the page loading. Amazon runs an auction. Sellers have told the system, in advance, the maximum they will pay for one click on the search term you just typed. The system ranks those bids, weights them by how likely each product is to sell, and fills the paid slots at the top of your results. Winners pay per click, whether or not you buy anything. In a crowded category, those clicks add up long before a single sale does. Read that again, because the incentive hides inside it. The seller pays when you click, not when you buy, which means a listing that attracts clicks and disappoints buyers still costs the seller money and still occupied the position where you were looking. The system is optimized for the click, and the click is upstream of everything you actually care about. Now count the slots. On a laptop, the top of a typical results page carries several sponsored placements before the first organic result. On a phone, the first screenful is frequently paid in its entirety. You have to scroll to reach the part of the page that was ranked by anything other than money, and most people never do. In September 2023, the Federal Trade Commission and 17 states sued Amazon in what remains one of the largest antitrust cases in American retail. Buried in that complaint is a claim that has nothing to do with prices and everything to do with what you see. The FTC's own announcement of the case puts it in plain words. It accuses Amazon of degrading the customer experience by replacing relevant, organic search results with paid advertisements, and of deliberately increasing what the FTC calls junk ads. Advertising that worsens search quality and frustrates both the shopper looking for a product and the seller who was promised a return. Read that again. The allegation is not that ads exist. It is that the store was made worse on purpose and that someone did the arithmetic and decided the revenue was worth it. Amazon disputes the characterization and has argued that sponsored results are clearly labeled and useful to shoppers. The case is still moving through the courts, and no court has ruled on those specific allegations. But notice what is not in dispute by anyone. The label exists because the distinction exists. Something on that page was chosen for you, and something on that page bought its way to you, and the only reason you can tell them apart is a four-letter word in small gray type. Put yourself on the other side of it for a second. You make a genuinely excellent kitchen scale, better tolerances than the competition, longer warranty, real support. You list it, you price it honestly, and you refuse to advertise because your product should speak for itself. Nobody hears it speak. Your competitor, whose scale is worse, bids on your category. Their listing sits above yours. They get the clicks become sales, the sales become sales velocity, and sales velocity is one of the strongest inputs into where a product ranks organically. Their advertising did not just buy them today's traffic, it bought them tomorrow's free traffic, because the algorithm now reads them as the popular choice. So you start bidding. Everyone starts bidding. And the moment everyone bids, The auction price climbs to whatever the category can bear, which means the advantage evaporates and the cost stays. Sellers describe it in the same terms every time. You are not advertising to grow, you are advertising to avoid disappearing. That is the machine, not a bribe. A treadmill nobody can step off. If you are still here, you are the kind of person who wants to know how the thing actually works, and that is exactly who this channel is built for. Subscribing takes 1 second and it decides whether these keep getting made. Because there is one more layer, and it is the one people never think about. Everything so far has been about which listing you see. The next part is about something quieter. Even after you have chosen a product, there is a second auction deciding who actually sells it to you, and most shoppers do not know it is running. Go to a product page, look at the yellow button. Multiple sellers can offer the identical item, but only one of them owns that button at any moment. Amazon calls it winning the featured offer. Sellers still call it the buy box. Whoever holds it gets the sale by default, because when you tap Add to Cart, you are not choosing a merchant, you are accepting one. Industry analysts have long estimated that the overwhelming majority of Amazon sales flow through that button, and the share is even higher on phones, where the list of other sellers is a link most people never open. Price, shipping speed, seller metrics, and fulfillment method all feed the decision. Sellers using Amazon's own warehouses have a structural edge, which means the fee that shows up in your price also buys the seller a better chance of being the one who gets to charge it. You made a choice about the product. Somebody else made the choice about the transaction. Then there are the labels, and the labels are doing heavier lifting than any ad. Amazon's choice reads like a recommendation from a person. It is not. It is generated by systems weighing factors like rating, price, availability, and how reliably the item ships. No editor holds it, no test lab issues it. Consumer groups and journalists have repeatedly found the badge attached to products with mediocre reviews, and in some reported cases to products with genuine safety complaints, which is precisely what you would expect from a signal that measures logistics and calls it endorsement. Bestseller is narrower than it sounds too. It reflects recent sales rank inside a specific category, and categories on Amazon can be extraordinarily specific. A product can be the #1 bestseller in a subcategory that contains almost nothing. None of this is fabricated. All of it is true in the narrow technical sense, and misleading in the way you read it, which is a more durable trick than lying. And underneath the badges sits the review score, which is the last thing most shoppers trust. Amazon has spent years and real money fighting fake reviews, suing brokers who sell them, and purging millions of them. That effort is genuine. It is also permanent, because the incentive never goes away. With clicks costing real money, a listing's star rating is the cheapest lever a seller has for converting expensive traffic into sales. So the manipulation moved. Instead of buying obviously fake 5-star reviews, operators buy a well-reviewed listing outright and swap the product underneath it, inheriting years of ratings for a completely different item. Others merge listing variations, so reviews for a popular size pool, into a new one. Others simply send a card in the box offering a gift card for a 5-star review, which violates Amazon's policy and happens constantly anyway. Check the dates on the reviews sometime. Check whether they describe the thing you are buying. Regulators have started arriving, slowly, and mostly at the edges. The European Union designated Amazon a gatekeeper under the Digital Markets Act, a regime specifically built to constrain platforms that both run a marketplace and compete inside it. In an earlier settlement with the European Commission, Amazon agreed to change how it uses third-party seller data and how it operates the buy box. In the United States, the pressure has been about the interface itself. In September 2025, Amazon agreed to pay $2.5 billion to settle FTC allegations about how it enrolled people in Prime and how hard it made canceling. $1 billion in civil penalties, $1.5 billion in refunds to customers. Amazon did not admit wrongdoing. Hold those two numbers next to each other. The largest consumer settlement of its kind is worth less than 3 weeks of Amazon's advertising revenue at 2024 levels. That is not a deterrent. That is a line item. So what do you actually do, standing in the aisle with your phone out? Scroll past the first screen. Everything above the fold is contested territory. The results that were ranked rather than sold begin lower, and they begin where most shoppers have already stopped looking. Treat the small gray word "sponsored" as the most important text on the page, because it is the only text telling you how that item got there. Sort by review count instead of star rating when you can. Since a 4.3 across 11,000 reviews carries information, a 4.8 across 19 does not. Open the other seller's link on the product page at least once so you can see what the default was hiding. And when you find something you like, search the brand and the model outside Amazon. If the product only exists inside the store, you are not looking at a brand. You are looking at a listing built for an auction, priced to survive it. Step back far enough and the shape is simple. A physical supermarket sells shelf space. Brands pay slotting fees for the position at eye level, and everyone in the industry has known this for decades. Amazon did not invent that. Amazon perfected it by building a shelf that reorders itself for every single shopper, runs a fresh auction each time, and looks, from the outside, exactly like a neutral list of what is available. $56 billion a year is what that illusion is worth, and the illusion only works while you believe the ranking is about the product. The ranking is about the bid. The bid is inside the price. And the search bar, the thing that feels like the most neutral object on the internet, is the most valuable piece of retail real estate ever built. There is a second version of this trick, and it does not need a search bar. It needs a building, a store where the discount was never a discount. Next, that is the outlet trap, and it is on screen now. Watch that one next.